AppGuardians, we're back. You're back, Fred. We are back. New look, new series, as usual, shining a light on growth leaders such as yourself, Fred, right?
Yeah, we are back. It's great to be back, Peggy. It's been a while. Thank
It
you.
has been a while. It has been a while, but things happen for a reason. So it has been a while, not just for the show. I'm thinking about the company overall because AppGuardians, which many of us, myself included, will remember as App Growth Network, right? Your company just recently turned 6 years old. How did you celebrate that? How did you mark that?
For me, it's always reflection, Peggy. I write things down. So I started writing it down, communicated with the team. And every time we make like presentations of how we have come, along years over years and what have we celebrated. So I think every year, I think any founder should go through this. Couple of weeks before anniversary, you go through what have worked, what didn't work, and look at it from like an higher level of what are we doing. I think that is amazing every year when you kind of like get a year older.
Yeah, to reflect. I can totally see that. And there's a lot to reflect on, right? You've got learnings, mistakes, pivots, triumphs. It's a lot like your personal life, Fred, actually, in a way, because it's kind of interesting, kind of ironic. When we were chatting a while back, just before the show, actually, you just got back from a Cowboy show with your daughter. And I thought to myself, pretty cool, right? Cowboys are celebrated for their resilience, ability to navigate the challenges, live off the land, what have you. How do you see these qualities, maybe like the cowboy spirit, in yourself and helping you like tackle the hurdles in the business journey?
So yeah, we just went to Calgary Stampede, which
Okay.
for a lot of people may not know where Calgary is. It's in central Canada. So yeah, we attended a few rodeo shows. I didn't know what the winning criteria for rodeo may be. So I asked somebody who went with, and he said that particular show, which was that the horse won, the three criteria. So one is length of how long can you stay on the horse. So back to how long you can actually stay in the game. Think about it. Second one is how parallel they could get their body to the horse aligned. So to me, that looks
Oh,
like all the regulations in our industry, how we deal with it and how we can actually stay compliant over time. And the last one, which is very interesting, is how high the horse jumps, you get scored on. Some cowboys deliberately want to challenge themselves and choose horses that they actually jump higher, even though it's riskier. So more risk, more reward situation. And how high you want to raise the bar deliberately to actually get reward for. Isn't it
yeah,
really close to what we do?
it really is. That is so cool. I mean, perfect parallels. If I look back on your journey, Fred, I mean, starting with identity, starting with that spirit, names matter. Names matter a lot. For example, you're Fred now, but you weren't always Fred.
No.
I know you when you were very, very different. Where did that transition come from?
Then the personal name and professional name, all of them, like the App Growth Network was really born when I wanted to do something, and I had something related to app growth, and I was walking on a hiking trail, and I was bouncing with the person I was hiking with, and I'm like, app growth, something. Then network. Oh, I have a network of amazing people around me when I was working in enterprise in past career before I even started the company. So I wanted to piggyback and leverage my network. So that's how App Growth Network was born without me looking at trademark or so that got us to the first $2 million in business. That name that
Yeah.
I came up with, a $5 Fiverr logo. Literally, I went to Fiverr and just make me a logo with blue and orange, and somebody did it. I'm like, great, But when you think about deliberate business planning, what gets you here doesn't get you there. So think about, then we kind of heard a lot of people saying app growth ideas, app growth shows, app growth strategies, and that is not trademarkable, right?
Got to be everybody.
You can be
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, so we have to have our own identity. So we then, went through a process of trademark AppGuardians. And yeah, I mean, for the first 5 years business, I was FOAT, right? And my actual name has a lot of vowel sounds, FOUAD. So
Yeah.
the first few minutes of conversation had to be, hey, how do I pronounce your name? Where is the root of the name? Where's the origin? Or where are you from? And
Oh,
how
yeah.
long have you lived
Yeah.
in Canada? And I'm like, okay, and especially we do a lot of American clients.
Mm.
So that had to be the conversation. But since I changed to Fred, that conversation doesn't need to be there anymore. They're like, hey, how's it going? Where are you calling from? Great.
Yeah, because you're Fred and
Doesn't
you don't
that
have to
change
go
the
there.
pace
Now you
of the
can go to the,
conversation?
now you can get to the point,
Get to the
right?
point. That's
Get to the point.
unnecessary for,
Exactly.
unfortunately, our human brains have always subjective, and people are not that they're judging all the time, but they're assessing.
But your decision to rebrand yourself, now you have deeper, quicker conversations maybe. But rebranding AppGuardians, I was astounded to read that it not only marked a significant pivot in your business, but it grew LTV by 3x. What's that about? That's phenomenal.
I think you make decisions in life, and at times you learn to say no, and you
Uh-huh.
focus on quality over quantity.
Mm.
Pandemic was a blessing and a curse for us in a way. The fact that a lot of people can relate to this, a lot of service-based business in tech, a lot of apps were launched. Everybody was looking for the Uber of something, Tinder of something to hack the next big idea, right? So the VC money was pumped to, here is, we hand you tens of thousands of dollars to launch the next. And we had to just, we couldn't say no. Maybe I should have probably said no at some point, but it was just too good to say no. So then he hit a plateau of its own when the war happened in Russia and Ukraine, and then you see the economical crisis, and the crypto was to go first, and then apps kind of got a bit of a hit, the market. So I think that was a pivotal point for us to like, now we need to really focus on quality. And as we rebranded AppGuardians, we really had to redefine on year 5, at the beginning of year 5, who our ICP needs to be that is going to have longevity. And we reinvented ourselves with the actions we take, the hiring, the kind of people that need to work here, and we really go the quality over quantity route, and it paid off because we do more for less people now.
That's a hard decision to make though, Fred, if you think about it. It's so hard to say no when someone's putting the budget right in front of you. How do you say no? Because it is important. You said yourself, because you're either going to overstretch, your own boundaries. You're going to overpromise. Something's going to happen because can't do everything. So there are some boundaries. How do you set those, and how do you say no that it's convincing?
It comes from the concept of minimalism. The less you need, the more you can actually create those resistance. When we had 30 people, we had to feed 30 people, right? Think about it. So we had to take people's money. And at times we were like, this project may or may not be successful. We'll do our best because they're passionate. We want to help them out. And I think and the more realistic you are with, like, look, you are here with your journey. I know an independent consultant now that might help you better with what you need. You don't need a full stack agency. But to get to that position of abundance, to be able to resist, you have to have built credibility, portfolio, content, reputation, which we did. Now we
Uh-huh.
could harvest. We were able to harvest, and obviously we downsized a bit, which I think that with that downsizing, it allowed us to create that resistance. Now we had less expenses.
There is something to it. But you build a team of 30 at one point, and that's quite an accomplishment because it's not just the numbers, right? There's a commitment, there's company culture, there's scale. You redefined yourself. You have AppGuardians, you build, and there was a strategy to that. What worked in scaling up your company?
I was blessed to have a great team of people around me. I just saw something in them that I know these people are going to be able to reliable. Like the first 4 or 5 people were amazing. And I think the training the next person, obviously the needs of a 5 people company are different than 30 people company. The whole concept of passing knowledge, documenting things, writing content around it. So that all worked. Our strategic location in Canada worked as well. Us be able to take advantage of the exchange rate, a lot of government funding that is available to us, hiring youth under 30. So we were able to take advantage of a lot of that. I remember there were times that I hired just 7, 8 interns, and we were able to get 7, like for each of them, a grant, right? So it was a grant against every new hire for X many months.
I mean, you say interns, but I think you kept several of them on.
Oh, some of them are like directors. They moved to director level, and they're people that they can trust with my eyes. Like they've got my credit card and banking, everything, But one of them, who is our operations director now, when he applied for a job here, he came with a 2-minute video, and he had zero experience. He's like, "I want to prove yourself what I'm capable of." And he somehow went to do an ASO audit with a video where like nobody asked him to actually do an ASO audit. I'm like, this guy is a doer. He's a keeper. He came from really like a small town background with no tech, and it's just a person. You can't train mindset.
But you have to judge that in a sense, and you've been a good judge at that. I mean, yes, you had 30. You're not that size now, but then it's deeper. It's, it isn't about the size. It's about the depth. You said yourself, quality and quantity. It's really about the quality. How do you judge quality? That's a tough one, but here you are, 6 years and a long track record as an entrepreneur, as a founder. I think that's a key question for people now as they face a similar decision. A lot of studios, a lot of companies, they have to, reduce the headcount, and they have to know the quality to keep.
I think one of my superpowers is people mastery, and I'm a connector. So I think that is my gift. I'm probably not necessarily the most creative person, may not necessarily the most analytical person, but I think that ability has allowed me to lead, not to be judgmental, but really to assess. And I'm trained as well. I read the book of Who, which is this thick book, and I learned that in EO. I was part of entrepreneur organization. They're like, hey, you've got to this level. Now the rest, you need to be more deliberate. What got you here won't get you there. So I joined EO, which was really recommended for a lot of entrepreneur organization with a lot of coaching.
Right.
So we had coaches. There's actually tools to use with People Analyzer. There's a quadrant exercise. We did a lot in the company, things that people like to do or they don't like to do, they're good at, they're not good at, put them in a quadrant and try to hire the weaknesses of the organization. So we did some of those exercises at times. So some of the lessons of entrepreneurship could be like, some of that is in you, some of that is learned. Quality of people, I think you just give them assignments, you see them in action, you see how fast they can absorb and how gifted and natural they are sometimes.
As you said, your natural superpower is being a connector. How have you leveraged this to not just grow your business, but your business is a people business?
Yeah.
So, what does that mean? It's when people say, oh, you have to ask your network for some advice, find mentors. It's easy to say it, but how do you actually leverage your network? And how do you do that in such a way that, also benefits your clients as well?
Being a connector means you're not afraid to talk to anyone, and you're also not afraid to connect anyone to anyone. So I've created Slack channels with a lot of my competitors, something that none of them would have done. So if you think about my competitors, I reached out to them. Hey, I want to be friends with you. I want to learn from you. You have no idea the lessons I've learned. And then when we talked to some of them, they actually opened up. They're like, this is my EBITDA right away. This is what I'm doing. Some of them are CEOs of 100 people companies. And this is what you should or should not do. Whether it was level up decisions or people decisions. And I have WhatsApp with some of them. I'll text them, they reply me within a couple of hours. But also I have given them businesses, some large enterprise deal even. I'm like, hey, this is too big for us. For example, Tencent reached out to us and they wanted a huge RFP with way more. And I reached out to a few people that I trust. And I'm like, hey, you and you and you're in a better situation to deal with this Tencent RFP. And they're like, well, I appreciate it. When it comes a few months after, one of them reached out to me about something very personal. And I'm like, wow, see, they see you at that place of trust.
That's true. It's an investment. And a lot of executives don't invest in building that trust, but I'm hearing that a lot more because of where we are. One of my friends, he's actually writing a book about this, that it's sort of like, if you think about investment all the time, this is another way to look at investment. You have to invest in your network because your network is what makes it possible for you to be here.
Yeah.
Would you go that far?
Yeah, your network and you be human through the process. Whether they're vacationing, whether they're having their child, right? There has been cases where we have lent resources to our competitors when they need it. So when one of their top directors quit, and there has been cases that they given us business, you know. So it's just good karma. I think being nice and good karma eventually in long term pays off.
I mean, you have all the makings, really, Fred. You've been listening to a lot of people. I think you have the makings yourself to be a bit of a coach in this direction. Are you giving back in that direction, mentoring? I mean, you said yourself you're building great relationships
Yeah.
and giving to, giving to get, but also giving to give. What does that look like with you and say, young entrepreneurs?
Yeah.
People just starting out.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I just volunteering as VP of membership for a local Toastmasters in Vancouver that is Vancouver Entrepreneurial kind of club. That group, they're all, and not everybody is an entrepreneur. There's some of them entrepreneurial. They have jobs. They have a side hustle. They try to turn that side hustle. I talk to them. I sometimes give talks. Again, the same reflection. It's like, how do you get your first client? What did I do 6 years ago from sleeping on a plane to go to a conference to save a night of hotel? And honestly, it's like stuff that I've done. We're sending 200 email or LinkedIn messages at 2 a.m. at night. So it wasn't an overnight success
No.
that you build a company like AppGuardians, but every single case study. We've touched 250 apps today from some of the top brands in the planet, but it didn't start like that. Like I remember one of the first projects we ever took was a $500 ASO audit, and the guy didn't pay me for a month after. you know,
They never do.
It was something as simple as that. I think it was like I was on AngelList looking for a side hustle at the time, and I had a job, and I interviewed with someone, and then one month after, he's like, "Hey, by the way, something has happened to my app. Can you look into this?" I'm like, $500. He's like, "Cool." It started with some story like that, Peggy.
You know what? Sometimes doing the dirty work pays off. It does. Long time ago. But you did something similar, not necessarily taking the dirty work, but you decided to build your company without external funding, which is the hard way, perhaps, or maybe it isn't, because when you do it on your own,
Yeah.
you're also exactly that. You are in charge. You're not beholden to someone who just gave you the funding. So, I mean, it's a trade-off. Looking back, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it was a trade-off. Again, for me, I was blessed that I was working for one of the best companies in the world, Sage. I owe them my success, and they knew that I'm onto an entrepreneurial path. And it's just such a large enterprise. We're managing 100 apps in Sage, basically, like literally 100 apps. We were optimizing like the listing global environment, and it laid the foundation that I wanted more, and I want to connect, and I want to make an impact. And I didn't take salary from the company for a while. I still had the job. So one of the first projects that we took, I think it was a $10,000 contract. I hired someone against that. I'm like, from day one, I don't want to be in the self-employed zone. I want to build a business. So I'm like, you and you and you against this contract. And sorry, that's all I have right now. And I'm gonna hustle to get the second one and third one. One of the first people I hired, she was an ex-IBMer who was a newcomer to Canada, like amazing person who did a lot for this company, but very analytical. She took care of that project. Or I had somebody that was working with me back in the days in Sage, and she was like, "Yeah, I wanted to help you to build this thing together." And she was a doer, analytical person, Swiss Army knife, all of them. And they're friends for life. Some of these people are friends for life. They're necessarily not, you don't look at them as an employee, right? It's that family culture at very, very first early. They realize things are tough. There were times that one of these people stayed up till 1 o'clock at night because he was a do or die. We would have probably not have any other clients, and that was the only client we would have lost. So they just put their very, very best to make it work. But where do you find those people is really important. You don't find them
Yeah, I
on
was gonna
LinkedIn and
say, where
LinkedIn
do you
job.
find them? Because that's what everybody would want to have. Where you just found them
No,
because
I
you
posted a
have
job on AngelList back in the day. AngelList, I think they rebranded AngelList. It has a different name, but that's basically it's a startup platform where people are looking for startup jobs. And I've given them stock options. As early as I was able to issue a lawyer letter, and I'm like, hey, this is a culture of ownership. I think that's another thing that I did. A lot of people close to me in early stages, I've issued stock options and say, if one day we exit, you get a piece of it.
smart, smart and fair,
That's fair.
very
That's
fair. I think
fair.
that's a thread going through what you've done. What was the specific along the way? I'm just saying in hindsight, because in hindsight you can always sort of pinpoint the things, but there are instances where you have to navigate a hurdle or avoid a pitfall that could literally stop your business in its tracks. You have to judge it, you have to see it, and you have to navigate around it. What were those instances? What are these moments? Because I'm thinking about our audience, right, Fred? And it's like sometimes you don't know when it is like the iceberg that you need to steer around. But in hindsight, you can tell like the major problems, the major hurdles from the ones that aren't going to bring it all down. But now you know what those look like. What do they look like? They could be even simple things. I mean, it could be the simplest things sometimes can have the biggest impact.
When you're in a people-based business, you realize so people, human beings, they have emotions, they have ups and downs, they go through their journey, their burnouts. And we are in a very specialty business, the mobile business, all of us. I mean, how many people, it's not like that you can find a content writer like that easily for another agency, like somebody who understands attribution, mobile user acquisition, understands, so these are Swiss
Yes.
Army knife people that are highly trained. The replacement cost of these people was really high. For me, the hardest part was I always had anxiety. What if this person left? So then I have to retrain somebody who has SEO
Yeah.
background, not teach them what ASO is, right?
Right.
The navigating around that, to me, again, it comes from maybe some of those my people mastery. Like my head of ASO has been with me for 6 years, and he's my rock when I need him. He went through his up and down journey, and I get it. People go through their ups and downs, and how do I make those adjustments with this individual when we have and we don't have? When I have more, give them bonuses to keep them or extra stock options if you have. Keep them happy genuinely. And again, it's somebody who the first like 3, 4 people, I remember there was a night that they came to my house and we were doing some like poker night or we went to grocery store together and bought something. And I mean, I've
Yeah.
traveled with some of them, like literally that personal connection. I think that is what's kept us
Hmm.
together still. But for people to look up to you as a leader, to follow you, to believe that you will be there for them and you will be fair. I think that is something that is to steer around it. But again, in a people-based environment, I think that is the hardest part. And at some point, I
Yeah,
was just hiring more people because I was like, okay, if this person left, there's somebody shadowing them. So the pod kind of system. It does work for some organizations. The bigger you are, you can afford to have, but then you have a lot of operating costs at that level.
exactly. You have the cost. So some of those 30 were potential replacements for the others.
Probably.
I mean, yeah, yeah.
But we had 30,
I
30
mean,
projects, 25 projects at that time, 25, 30 projects.
yeah. And you need 30 people,
So
obviously. And you talked about the importance of managing money. How do you approach financial planning and investment now in today's sort of fluctuating markets? Because now we're talking a lot more about sustainable growth, profitable growth,
yeah,
resilience. We're not getting, the VCs and the community is not blinded by growth at all cost. They're thinking about that cost. And you probably have from the start.
yeah. I mean, again, being in Canada, we were lucky to optimize a lot of grants, a lot of funding that was available to us. We maxed out as much as we could. We got a line of credit that I never touched. It was there though to let me sleep good at night. It was like $500,000 sitting there. If I need to touch it, I'll touch it. And my coach was saying that operate to close, try to get close to the line, but don't touch it. So it's just there for you to know you can get going. And again, I'm minimalist that way. I don't, I drive a Toyota Camry. I don't drive a Porsche, you know. So
Mhm.
it's not that I need luxury things in my life. So I think I'm fine that way. But business wise, we made adjustments at some point, even to some people's compensation model. So it became more about we'll share what we have. And some people couldn't
Mhm.
tolerate it. But the ones that they did, then sometimes they got really well payments when now our LTV grew by X%, right? Like we started with some contracts at 20K and then those grew to here's a $100,000 contract. Okay, so the person whose compensation was directly correlated to that got benefit from that as well. I think the overhead management depends on everyone's risk tolerance,
Mhm.
and some people have it because they're serial founders. They have here's $X million to start the next journey, and for us, it was always an adjustment of how things are, and it's worked out that way. But now we're in a good situation because of the size and because of what I mean. Now everything is paid off. The rebranding, and it's just my body language when I show up in a meeting now, Peggy. When I talk to someone and they right away sense it that you're lying or you're honest about it, and do you need this project or it's something that you will pass if the boundaries are not met, and right away they sense that.
Well, our paths have crossed many times. And what I hear from you, or what I pick up, is that, you're seasoned. You have done this. You have seen this. 6 years makes a growth leader, or, personal growth. It's all intertwined with business success in your case as well. Um, Share how your own philosophy, your leadership style, your business philosophy. What's the biggest change over the year? Maybe even something you didn't anticipate. I'm hearing a lot of like the minimalist coming through, and maybe that isn't how you started. So what was the biggest change in yourself and how you see your business over the years?
I think patience.
Okay.
I think,
Hard to learn. Our industry isn't known for it.
yeah,
Fred, I'll give you that.
no, I honestly, and having faith that things are going to be okay. I swear, I there's this story that I gave it in Toastmasters recently, so I'm just gonna give you the snapshot of it, where a client was making
Okay.
$1 billion acquisition. They ghosted us for a few months. They were busy. I had people against that contract, and they just had announced that this acquisition will be happening. It was a large acquisition, and yeah, probably they could have communicated better, but they were busy. couple of months after
Mm.
that happened, and eventually we got on a call and they're like, sorry, we're just, but if you have faith, if you're still not giving up on us, here is another $100,000. We have more and more and more and more project just because of this, and that paid off. And one went
Yeah.
through my head those 4 or 5 months of waiting. Everybody's asking, Fred, is this project happening or not? And I had to deal with the unknown of that. Patience, persistence. I think write good legal contracts to know that you can protect yourself as well. But then, and I try to be, we'll learn that. Good contracts, I think, lead to good relationships as well, Peggy.
It covers it. No surprises, no bad feelings later. I get that as well. We've talked about AppGuardians, App Growth Network. It is and was all about growth and still is, right? So I want you to look back and look forward with me over the last 6 years. So looking back, what is the most imaginative growth hack? Because you know them, Fred, you've seen them, that still has legs today. Something we're missing where there's still, a lot of pure gold goodness to squeeze out of it because, hey, we need some good ideas right now.
If they're early projects, doesn't matter if they're, again, we had early projects that were put together by CEO of one of the largest photo publishing apps in the world. So the guy was funding $1 million at a time. And this was a game, but the person behind it was cutting $1 million checks at a time for them to get going. How we closed it was development and marketing are all baked under the same umbrella. You have no idea how important it is for marketing to get involved as early as possible. Even 4 months to the launch doesn't matter. So I think that is a golden nugget. And there are things that you could do. And to me, it's the analogy of
Mm-hmm.
when the patient is cut open in the surgery room, don't try to check everything that is there. Because once you stitch it up, then then you have to reopen it again. So that's another cost there, right? I use that analogy a
Yeah.
lot to create not a FOMO, but a bit of deliberation in my pitch. And I think it's not necessarily a pitch; it's a fact. There are things such as Google Play Bundle ID that you cannot change after you launch an app. Did you know that 99% of developers don't know that?
I
Like they
didn't
know they
know it.
can't change it, but did you know that
Mm.
that's one of the ASO ranking algorithms for Google Play? So go to Google Play and search for the keyword fitness. The number one app that shows up is a company called Leap Fitness. They've used the bundle ID fitness keyword, whatever. And even developer name is called Leap Fitness. It's not Nike's Training Club or Under Armour's Fitness Pal. It is that app on Google Play that they have. And I'm not saying the bundle ID is a number one factor. It is
Mm.
part of Google
Yeah.
algorithm of giving talks and conferences about this. So when I talk to people about this topic, a lot of people are like, "Oh, I had no idea." Even seasoned app marketers, they may not know that. It's an easy miss. But if you consult it with us, and it's half an hour work for us to come up with the right combination for your bundle ID. It's 4 keywords that goes up there in your package. This never gets old. I still use it to communicate, and a lot of people don't communicate that. And they realize, okay, this guy thinks holistic. He thinks very early on into growth, starting from early stages of that, and to me also the concept of leaky bucket. People don't understand how tight acquisition and retention are together. It starts from getting good quality users, but tracking everything to habit formation. So I started with product marketing for apps. I mean, App Growth Network slogan for a long while was product marketing for apps, right? Something like that. And people come to us, they're like, yeah, can you get us $3 CPIs? I'm like, I can get you 10 cents CPIs if you want. It's not about that.
It's not the value.
It's not the value. It's about, are you going to diagnose the leaks in a very systematic way, and then how you can actually fix those leaks in a very efficient way so you don't burn a lot of money. So some of these they realize now the mindset is different. It's not about numbers game or how efficient we can get it for you. It's how we think.
Interesting. And a very good segue, because in our series, which is High Five, which means we have chosen special series. We're looking at 5 growth leaders. And one of them is going to be Addictive, because they look at churn prediction. Very key here. We'll be hearing more about that. I won't go there, but I was thinking to myself the whole time, yes, fix the leaky bucket. We'll be talking to a company that does that and how they do that with their customers. But in the meantime, I want to look ahead with you. I looked ahead to, yes, I lifted the lid. What's coming up in the series? How do you plan to continue your business, its growth trajectory, what you're doing? What's next for you, Fred?
How I'm planning to grow. I mean, obviously we are blessed to have this amazing customers right now. We're working with some of the best brands in the world. I cannot mention all their names because of NDAs, but we are lucky in a very good way. So we want to really focus on them for a long while, taking care of all of them first. And I think the good case studies will talk by itself, right? It's like some of that is recently published in our website with Apple Games and all the great work the team is doing for the creatives and, like people like that that we can actually now go and say, we did a lot of this. And everybody knows, for example, Apple Games in the industry, right? So they're really very well reputable. So let the word spread by itself so that it attracts similar audience, right? I think to me, I don't do any cold email business development and none of that. I think that the word needs to spread, and there are people that are knocking on our door. They're like, "Yeah, I've heard about you guys because so and so said that." In a very small community that we all know who is who. If probably you and I have been to conferences, we met each other how many times, and the same, right?
But to your point, it always spreads. I mean, 6 years in the industry, being consistent, at some point you just have this dynamic. It just moves. That's the great moment, actually. Is when you don't have to say very much because people already know what you stand for.
They do, and you hear a lot about AI is going to do this, AI is going to do that, and I could say AI is helping everyone. To me, it's doing the foundational creative kind of like shuffle. It's a shuffler. It is an extractor. To me, I put stuff there like what can you actually like? How can you provoke my brain? How can you activate my brain? But the rest it can't do. So I think the team is using to activate a lot of things and does heavy lifting. Yeah, I mean proofreading, editing, a bunch of that. It's doable, but when it comes to strategy and when do you double your media budget? When do you tap into different localization ASO? How do you focus on retention day 7 so that you prevent churn? AI can't do that yet. So you still need these people that they are 10-year plus experience that have been there, done that. And one of the things that I'm focusing a lot right now, Peggy, is to how to bring that 6 years of knowledge, insights forward to our proprietary vault so that things are in front of us. So I'm actually trying to build something hopefully for that internally so that the next person that says meditation, have you done it? Yeah, we have done 20 meditation apps so far. Here's the best practices that is just there.
Excellent. Excellent to do that. And as you said yourself before, that documentation, that is critical. That has played a role in the evolution of your company. And that's probably also a reason to bring back this series as well and to continue to share, which is what you're doing, case studies and being here and sharing as well your experiences. It is high five. If it wasn't virtual, Fred, it would be, a high five to you because it's been just a delight to have you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Peggy, for bringing this series back to life, and the App Growth show continues.